Oh, firstly, welcome, Naomi. Thank you so much for joining us today. You've openly shared that you've been through marriage, divorce, and now help other women navigate their dating lives. What did that journey teach you about love and yourself?
Yeah, it's that I think it really starts with us. It's that old Whitney Houston song, isn't it? You know, the greatest love of all is happening inside of me. And it sounded really cheesy when we were all singing along to her. And I know I'm that bit older than you, but it really is. It's like understanding that, the mantra I give my clients all the time. I say this is the Naomie mantra: the relationship you want is the prize, not the man. Feeling good in your own skin is the prize. Having the life you want is the prize, not the man you're doing it with. If we are, and I think if anyone were to take anything from this conversation, and this is like the first thing I'm saying, is that, focusing on yourself and your life. And that was what it was for me. I was focusing everything on trying to make my marriage work. And then as soon as I shifted to just focusing on myself and what is it that I wanted. It's so easy for us women to get lost in getting approval, making sure we don't get disapproval. And, many women grew up, as I did, sort of having to chase their love from their dad, a dad who wasn't present, who wasn't right there. So deep in our bones, we get this conditioning that we have to work hard for love. We have to be a certain way, and that love doesn't come easy. So then we end up overcompensating and overdoing. And that was me. I thought I needed to be a certain way. I think what life and pain in relationships has taught me is that actually I need to focus on me and what I want, learning how to communicate. Knowing what you want comes before being able to communicate what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally relate to that because I've done that in the past where if they pulled away, I chose harder instead of just accepting it. Acceptance was the hardest thing for me, I think, just accepting it and be like, okay, it would just make me want to chase harder.
Yeah, because we don't want that we don't want the gap to get any wider. So we have this fear of the feelings that we're going to have. It's like if that person pulls away even further, then the feelings that we're going to have, or actually the beliefs and the thoughts that we're going to have, is like I'm going to be on my own. They're going to disappear. Right? It means I'm not good enough. It means all of this, and then the feelings are overwhelming. So it's like, okay, do whatever I can to close that gap. Do whatever I can to close it. That can be like little cute text messages to remind a man you still exist. I mean, God, how many times have we done that? I did it, these subtle ways to kind of say hello. And, with the right man, you're never going to have to remind him you exist.
What do you think we should be paying attention to when choosing a partner, especially, if we are serious about building something long term?
So, an analogy I use, if you are on the south coast of England, where I live, and you want to get to the shores of northern France, and the relationship you want, your destination are the shores of northern France, you need a vessel to get you there. And you've got on the south coast of England, you've got a kayak and you've got a yacht. Now, some relationships that we can impulsively get into are like that kayak. It could be a lovely kayak, it could be shiny, it could be sleek, it could be all the things, and it could be fun to paddle around in. But my goodness, it's only going to get you across the English Channel if you've got a rescue boat with you and the weather's good. And as soon as there's inclement weather, it gets a bit stormy, that kayak has to turn back or get rescued. It's not going to get there. And that can be what it's like sometimes choosing guys. It's like, can we intentionally choose that yacht that is seaworthy, that is voyage worthy, that is relationship worthy? Because we need to choose a partner who's there for the journey, who's there for the voyage, and can stick it out with us. So that includes as a woman, becoming more emotionally intelligent, just growing your self-awareness, and choosing a partner who is also, has some emotional intelligence, because that's the biggest green flag for a relationship. So I'd say to women, learn how to be a green flag for a great guy, because so many of us I really want a guy who's like this, and he's really solid, and he's reliable, and he can communicate well, and he doesn't get defensive all the time. It's like, okay, girl, so how about you? Do you bring that energy to a relationship? Have you worked on how you process things? Are you just insulted and defensive at any little thing? Are you criticizing yourself all the time? Can you show up to a conversation? Well, I'd just say if you keep saying that to yourself, you'll be right. Whatever we say to ourselves, we'll find evidence for.
And what would you say to someone who hears that and says, well, that's great in theory, but there are no good men out there? Like, what if they feel like the yacht just doesn't exist?
So I just say, okay, well, where's that come from? How have you come to that conclusion? And really it is our inner protector going, I know what, I'm going to just protect you. I'm just going to give you the thought that there are no great men out there, so you don't risk it. So you don't risk your heart dating. But what we end up with is low-level feeling of discomfort and rejection and loneliness. So that kind of thinking gets us like a permanent low-level state that feels normal of feeling crappy. Whereas daring to believe something different and just having, and I'm not about just having a positive affirmation for the sake of it, but why not take a completely untrue statement like that and say, okay, apparently there's some great guys out there. I wonder how I can attract them and find them. I would say is a lot truer than there are no great guys out there. And it's challenging the way we speak. We've got, the way we speak creates our reality. So, if someone says, God, today's going to be an awful day, they'll be right. If someone says, today's going to be a great day, they'll be right. And it's just choosing what you think and what you say and what you believe.
So when someone comes to you feeling frustrated, maybe they have had a string of bad experiences, where do you even begin? Like, how do you start helping them move forward?
I feel like my job as a professional person is to say, okay, that's what was done. And how are we going to do things right now? What tools are you going to use we're going to use for your next date where you start just doing something different? You can go to therapy and talk all about your past. That's fine if you want to do that. But what we're going to do is nod to the past and say, okay, well, that happened, but how are we going to shift your habits and patterns right now? In your life right now with every guy you interact with, whether you're walking down the street, whether it's just a guy in the supermarket, or whether you're on a date with him. How are you going to shift those old patterns? Because you absolutely can. It's just new habits take over old habits.
So many of us go straight into overthinking when something happens with a guy. Like, we spiral, we analyze, we judge. What do you teach your clients to do instead in those moments?
I just have a woman go into the quiet part of them, which is their feelings. So when you just learn how to feel before reacting, then everything changes. So it's like, how I see it, what happens is it's like information comes in. Either a guy does something or doesn't do something, or something happens that we would normally get triggered. It's like that information enters our kind of sphere of consciousness. And what we would normally do is send it up into our head, overthink, ruminate about it, come to conclusions. We send it up into our head, and then that creates a whole load of feelings inside of us. We'll start feeling, anxious. We start feeling, and they're familiar. They're really familiar feelings. So what I do with my clients, I say, okay, that trigger's coming in, that stimulus is coming in, that outside input is coming into us. Catch it, send it down into your body instead, and just learn how to feel it instead of think it. And when we do that, we go to a more vulnerable place in us, because often our thinking is covering up a whole load of feelings. When we overthink, it means we don't have to feel. If I'm judging him, if I'm angry at him, anger is a great feeling to have as well, but it often covers up deeper feelings underneath of sadness, loneliness, fear. So, it's when we're thinking, we don't have to feel all those painful, vulnerable feelings. So what I say is, let's go down and just feel it and hang out there where it's quieter, where your intuition is, where your gut feeling is, where there are just feelings that need to be felt, where you know how you want to feel in a relationship.
Can you talk a bit about your coaching approach? Like, what methods do you use to help women open up emotionally or feel safer in dating?
Yeah, so I really teach women how to, so often, what we do when we try and guard our heart until we are sure that a guy is worthy of it and we become more guarded. It's like we have learned as often as women to be strong on the outside to protect what we feel is too vulnerable and too weak and maybe not good enough or something on the inside. So we've got this outer strength that protects the what we believe is maybe weak in some way on the inside. So what I do is I work to help women do the opposite. Learn how to be strong on the inside. The analogy that I came up with was the egg and the peach. So if you think being strong on the outside is like being an egg, it's like you've got a raw egg, and what's inside, if that egg were to break, what comes out, it cannot hold together. It's insubstantial. So the shell is vital. So being strong on the outside is like trying to keep that shell intact all the time. But it's actually really vulnerable. It's really easy to break. And then, but the urgency to protect it is strong because we think what's inside is not going to hold together. Whereas if you think of like a peach is strong on the inside. A peach has her seed of strength on the inside. And on the outside, she can be soft. She can be vulnerable. Peaches have to be very carefully packed when they are in transit. You see these little cases they're in, and it's like, but she's got that inner strength. No matter what happens on the outside, you know, you can just still keep growing when you have that strength on the inside. And you have faith that no matter what happens in life, you're going to be okay. So instead of trying to control the world and control what a man does so that she feels safe, a woman actually, when she works with me, learns how to be strong on the inside so that no matter what happens in life, she's going to be okay. Because life isn't always, there's tough stuff happens. But it's when you have that inner strength, then you can be softer and more receptive and more vulnerable on the outside. And when it comes to dating and relationships, that is what a masculine man is looking for. That is what the kind of man who will lead a relationship, who will cherish your feelings, who will listen when you share your heart with him, who will communicate with you, who, you know, as a woman, as you know, many of us women, we have our hormonal cycles, and you know, our emotions are not as generally steady as guys are, and that's just natural. And actually, what you want is, I remember dating a guy. He went, "God, you're so emotional," and I said, "Yeah, I'm a woman. I feel stuff." And I was really clear. He just wasn't right for me. And I wasn't unusually emotional. I was just being a woman. And actually, what you want is a man who doesn't get knocked off course just by you having a meltdown occasionally and crying because you just feel like life has just got on top of you. And then the next day you're bouncing and fine again. That comes from being able to be strong on the inside and soft and receptive on the outside. That inner strength means you can open up to love. Because, you know, how I see it, what happens is when we first meet someone, it's like all the hormones and chemistry colludes to make us go open-hearted. And it's like we're saying, I just get to know me, get to know all of me, get to know kind of everything, you know, everything about me. And then as he starts to come close, it's like we go, oh yeah, but only this close, because if you get any closer, you're going to see everything I've suspected about myself, which is that I'm not good enough, which is that I'm not lovable enough. So we're always keeping people at a distance. But when you learn how to really totally love and accept the most vulnerable parts of you, when you learn how to just feel the uncomfortable feelings of loneliness, fear, jealousy, all those things we think that we should hide away and feel, all those feelings we think we're above feeling. When we just learn how to feel those in a very simple way, doesn't have to be years of therapy to do it, but therapy is fantastic. So for some people, that is just the right thing to do as well. But when we just are able to do that, that means that, you know, we are going to be able to let someone closer. So that a lot of my method is that. And also, I have a dating process that's very, very clear from the dating profile, communicating with guys on the app, what to do before accepting first dates, even like the nuts and bolts of how long should a first date typically be. There's how to respond, how not to chase a guy without playing games with him. So I find it's really useful to have a very clear dating process. And of course, there's, flexibility in it, but having that process is something you can fall back on again and again and again.
What is your take on how first dates should go, especially when you're meeting someone off the apps? Personally, I always say keep it short. It's basically a blind date, right? You don't want to be stuck in a long dinner with someone you've never met before. And I'm a big fan of the quick coffee, low pressure, and if it's going well, you can always extend it. And I just think our time and energy are so precious, and I think you've got to protect that. So how do you approach those early stages from messaging to actually meeting someone?
Yeah, well, I see it as a process. So I would say you connect with someone on the dating apps. And I would, for your own sanity, your energy, I would not be messaging with a guy for weeks. Without phone calls, without video calls, without like meaningful, real connection. And I would, remember that messaging isn't real. It's not a real connection. A messaging connection. Real connection happens when you hear someone's voice, see someone's face, smell them. You're in their presence. You feel their energy. We are energetic beings. We need to feel somebody's energy to notice how we feel with them. So don't create an imaginary relationship with someone by text. I did it. We all do it, but catch yourself do it. So I would say a guy who's really clear he's on those apps looking for a relationship is not going to want to waste his time. Men do not like wasting their time. They're very good at conserving their energy. So actually, a guy who is relationship minded, he is going to be really open to speaking and meeting fairly quick. So what I say is for women, I don't want women to lead this process, but I'd say you can invite. You can be that invitation. My teacher and mentor, Rory Ray, always says, be the invitation to a guy. And so if you're on the dating apps, just saying to a guy, I just feel so much better having a conversation, having a video call or having a conversation rather than messaging for too long. What do you think? So then if a guy is like ignores that, or he goes, oh no, we don't know each other well enough, after a couple of days of back and forth, I would say you've kind of got to know as much as you're going to get to know by text, which is this person literate? Are they kind? Can they think a little bit deeper? Then the next step really is to have a phone call or a video call. Then if someone's saying, do you want to meet for a date? I would always say, just have a video call before agreeing to meet. Save your energy, girls. I would just say, I feel most comfortable having a video call before agreeing to meet someone. And if a guy's like reluctant and says, oh no, I hate video calls, or I'm really uncomfortable on the phone, my feeling, don't meet him. There's probably nothing dangerous about him, but here's the thing. Relationships, even great relationships, require you to sit with a certain level of discomfort. There are going to be difficult conversations. There are going to be misunderstandings. There are going to be times where you are going to have to sit with discomfort. So you need a partner who can sit with a little bit of discomfort in the quest for finding his woman. And if he doesn't do video calls for work and he's nervous, let him be nervous and still have a video call with you. And if someone isn't willing to, I would go, okay, how are you going to show up to difficult conversations in our relation? It's not something I'd say to somebody, but I'd say that in my mind. How are they going to be able to do that? Then if you get on great in the video call and it seems good and he seems kind and all of that, I would say, and he says, let's meet up. I'd say, don't go out for dinner. some dating coaches are like, don't settle for anything less than dinner, girl. Don't go for your $5 coffee date. I say nonsense. Unless you know a guy already, unless you know him from your community, from your church, from somewhere, and you've been talking, and then he says, I'd like to take you for dinner. You've already got that background on him. You've already connected with him in real life. Online, keep it easy. I would say don't travel to him. Don't fall for meeting halfway somewhere, 50 miles away. Really, you can keep this easy for you. If you don't mind meeting in your town, I remember having guys taking the day off so they could come and drive to where I live. It's really okay. Let them make the effort to come to you and then just meet for coffee. I would say I just feel good meeting for an hour just to see how we get on. What do you think? And most guys would be like, yeah, great. So that's my take on it. I feel like it is a process, and dating can just become part of your life. As in, I used to have my shopping bags in the boot of the car. I'd meet someone for coffee and I'd tie it in with shopping in Waitrose. It just becomes part of your life. You don't have to be dressed up to the nines. You just look nice enough. Have the date, carry on with your day.
Exactly. I love that. Yes, just weave it into your day. No need to make it a whole big event. Also, that way you're not building it up in your head either. Yeah, I love that. Low stakes, low effort, coffee and cauliflower in the same trip. Yeah, that is efficient dating. Also, that's such a good mindset shift. If it's just one part of your day, not your whole day, yeah, it just takes the pressure off completely.
Exactly. And if someone's traveling a long way, maybe you just have a lot more video calls before meeting. But, really, I think that the important thing here is, I've had some women say, oh my gosh, well, he's traveling from another state. He's traveling 200 miles. So he's going to get a hotel, or he wants to stay at my house. And they get this people pleasing comes in and they think they've got to be nice and accommodating. And I say, well, you don't have to put him up. You don't have to stay in the hotel with him. Have lots more online coffee dates if you're going to be spending half a day with him. But you do not have to go with his flow or his desires. You can still keep the same boundaries that you would as if someone was closer. So I think that's the important thing, and is disappoint him before you disappoint yourself. Very, very important message for women. As a woman growing up in the 80s and 90s, I know so many women of my generation who would have had sex with a guy so as not to disappoint him. I remember talking with my daughter who's in her early 20s now, and I said, you can say no at any point. At any point. It's absolutely fine. If you change your mind, you just say no. And that's so important that women say disappoint other people before you disappoint yourself. It should be the mantra of the people pleaser.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think there's a safety issue at play too, especially with what you said about people pleasing. I think so many women are raised to be accommodating and polite, even when something doesn't feel right. But honestly, if something feels off, don't worry about being nice. Just say no.
Exactly. I heard an American detective talking about it, and he said every woman who was attacked by a man, when she was interviewed, there was a certain point where she had a gut feeling and she didn't follow it. And it's so important for us to follow our gut feelings and just go, and I tell you something I really want to tell everyone who's dating is that you can make a clear choice or decision about a guy, about whether you want to see him again or not, and you do not have to explain it to yourself or anyone else. You can just go, no, don't want to meet him. Just don't know what it is. Just decided. I've decided. No, just no. And you do not have to even have a reason for it yourself, because our brain will think us into things and out of things, into things and out of things. And just thinking about our own gut feeling, going, no, I've just decided because I've decided, is very, very powerful.
So before we wrap up, do you have any takeaways or final thoughts for our listeners, aside from signing up for your fabulous coaching?
Yeah, of course. Yes, if coaching is what people want, reach out to me. However, I would say and we haven't touched on this huge amount in this conversation, but learning how to communicate your wants, your needs, your desires is incredibly important. So, I'll give you a link, Joe, to my feminine communication masterclass. It's a 2-hour masterclass, and I think people will absolutely love it. And it gives you the whole roadmap for how to communicate with a man. And it's not just strategy and the words to use, it is actually how you communicate authentically, and starting with how you find in yourself what it is you want to say, what it is you want to communicate. And then how you can communicate with ease and grace in a way that a man actually listens and wants to attend to your needs and your desires if he's the right man for you. But it gives you that congruence, and congruence is about what's going on the inside of you matches how you are communicating and showing up on the outside. And that kind of congruence, that kind of inner and outer clarity is so attractive to a man. A man will value a woman who has that so much more highly than a woman who's incongruent. And the incongruence is when it's like he can feel that there's something going on inside of her that she's not saying. It's like he says, "How are you?" And you go, "I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. Fine." And he's like, "Okay, that doesn't feel right. Something else is going on and it's probably my fault." And then he'll be more guarded and defensive. So how to communicate, whether you're on dates or in a relationship. And also, I've got a free audio training. I've got a free training, the 5 keys to having the love you want. And those keys are the process I took. So, go and get those 2 things, I think will be really, really helpful.
And finally, if someone's listening right now, feeling discouraged, feeling like love just isn't for them, what would you say to them?
I would say that there is nothing special about you that excludes you from love. You're not different from anyone else. You are a human being. You are worthy of love. And it may just be that you've been trying to travel on a kayak the whole time. Your ability to discern the right partner for you isn't great. And it also may be that, how you court yourself, how you take care of yourself, how you speak with yourself needs to have a little shift. You don't need to change. In fact, the work I do and the process I took was becoming more myself than I'd ever dared to be. I feel like I am just becoming more, taking off the layers of conditioning and going, who the hell am I and what the hell do I want? So that's what I would say is, for people out there feeling like it's just not going to happen for me. Well, if you've decided that, then you're right. But you cannot fail at attracting love. You either give up or you keep going. And I was really clear when I was dating, I was not going to give up. And I knew that no matter how I got ghosted, I was devastated. I got dumped, I was devastated. And I was like, okay, I can just feel this. It's just a feeling. Just catch myself overthinking it. I will recover, because I always do. And I'm going to keep on going. Even if I don't meet my man till I'm 82, I'm just going to keep on going and keep dating. And believe me, in fact, I met my man on Plenty of Fish. And I was on 3 dating sites, and I met him on that one. And I remember the day before going, oh my God, this Plenty of Fish is just like a swamp full of toads. And at that point, I was already a successful coach, and my clients were getting married and all of that. But that's where we go in our minds. And then I just stopped myself, because I've got the tools. And I just said, Naomie, you're on there. You are intelligent. You are deep. You are looking for a great relationship. Your man is looking for you. Stay visible to him. The next day, me and Charlie connected. We chatted, and it carried on from there. So what I'd say is, you either keep going or you give up. You don't fail. You just keep going or you give up. And when women work with me, they keep going, because I make sure they keep going. And, it's your own decision that you're not good enough or it's not going to work out. but it's not true.
Oh, yeah. It's just a belief that we've taught ourselves to believe. And it's a story we've told and it's not true.
Exactly. And you'll be right. If you tell yourself, I'm never going to meet someone, you'll probably be right. Because your whole energy, you will not be on the lookout for the relationship. You will not be able to see when good things are coming towards you, when men are paying you attention, when there's a good man in front of you, because you're so busy with the decision and looking at life through the lens of, I'm never going to meet someone, they'll always turn out to let me down. So all you'll do, your great guy could be in front of you and all you're looking for is, how's he going to let me down? So it's just shifting your mindset, just one little belief at a time. And that's why I will always challenge my clients' thinking and the way they speak.